there's anyone in yet, but because it's usually. So I'll do
Hello,
it.
everybody. How
Hello.
you doing? Hello. Hiya, Mickey. How you doing?
I'm all right. It's just the others.
That's it. It is. Always others.
It's just the others.
We're all rubbish.
It's always the others.
Always. I mean,
I don't know.
Nigel Porter. Hello. All the way from North Pole. Absolutely, every time. And I've been told there's a lot more due to solar flares that's happening. There's a lot more like Northern Lights, and they're reaching Scotland and Northern England apparently.
Yeah, that's to do with what they call a skip in the air.
Ah, yeah. So you've just said skip. Now, apparently, a friend of mine has got a big, he's got like a radio station in his back garden.
Yeah.
And he said, I've just heard a German channel that usually I can't pick up. And I went, how does that happen? He goes, well, it might hit a skip in air. And for a while, that radio station will be transmitted through because of a skip. Yeah. I've never heard that term. Yeah. So
it's a term. And what happens, it's rather like going down the A1 or any road, and you've got embankments on the side, and as soon as the embankment goes, the car goes, whoa, and you've got to fight that skip pushes the signals, and it also pushes the atmospheric pressure as well.
Right.
You know, people, I'm no radio ham. You know, I've been on, when I was in the army, I used radios and stuff, got a little bit of knowledge. But that, when you think about solar flares and the pull of the moon, and you heard about Looney Tunes and lunatics, and the moon moves the tide, so if it can move the tide, what else can it do? You know? And you think about all the other things, because what we know about the Earth, you can put on the back of a threepenny stamp. You know, what we don't know, you can fill the bloody library with. You know, what's happening up there? You know, and we're not talking about UFOs and all that bullshit. We're talking about the natural phenomenon that we do understand now, the solar wind, and you know, and the tidal flow and everything. So when you're talking about the skip and everything else that goes with it, your brain is encased in a skull, right? And the atmospheric pressure obviously affects, you know, what's inside, and on the lobes. People feel like this and they feel that, and they get depression, and I feel, you know, it affects everything. Phenomenon as well, because what normal people wouldn't see, all right, on the front lobe of the brain, all right, where all your senses are, all right, or people have also got them on the back as well. They say that in spiritual terms, it opens them up and it opens your eyes up, lifts your vibration, lifts your energy, or lowers them. You know, sometimes if it's lower you see them, if it's higher you see them, but normally it's pretty. So, but it doesn't affect everybody, you know.
No,
But surprisingly, there are people it does affect greatly, and some it doesn't affect at all. So, you know.
I mean, it's amazing what you said, because like when you mentioned, the word lunatic it's lunar and then tick, but I've got a friend what worked in security, and he managed like court cases and things like that. And he says, it's often we just said between ourselves, it's a full moon, someone's going to kick off tonight, because by just doing it for years and trend, you know, they know it's going to happen. It's a full moon. It's like, well, people argue, it don't happen. It doesn't have an effect. But these guys clearly know, because they're witnessing it all the time.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, with what we know on Earth, it's like we think we're pretty. I mean, we're an intelligent bunch, most of us.
Come on.
Maybe not me. I don't know, but there's a lot of birds. When they rear them in captivity, they say we've got to keep them in a box so they don't see sky, because once they see sky, they're nowhere to return to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I thought, wait, these so-called stupid bird brains, right? They're born, they look up and they go, right, this is where my home is, and they know that from looking at the sky.
Yeah.
It's not they're not stupid. You know what I mean? That's a really good instinct. I mean, that's amazing. You know,
there was a story of this is going off the rails a bit, but it's talking about human nature, where people were kept segregated, male from female, all right, and they were done that on purpose for human experiments. And they put a male and a female together, and never seen a female before. And they soon found out how to copulate. So, you know, it's nature, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nature beyond comprehension, you know. So, and people take things for granted. But the thing I want to point out is my family are all travelling tailors and goes back 400 or 500 years. I can't stitch a button now. My mum was a master tailoress. My grandma was a master tailoress. My auntie Iris, who's still alive, is a master tailoress. She's in her 90s. Now, I can't sew a button. You know, my brother, he can't do what I do. But when he came out of the army, he took to sewing like a duck to water. And you know, he's a bloody tailor. You know, you know, he took to it like a duck to water. You know,
Yeah.
so if it's within you, it's just trying to find that trait, that gift, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Experimenting with yourself. You know.
It's like these young kids, isn't it? These really young kids who I've seen them on the pianos and stuff. Just amazing. Some of them are just so clever.
Yeah, like
where did it come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent time with a guitar, and it's not natural for me to just pick it up. There's some people out there, and you chuck a guitar, and in 3 days they do it. They're performing a song.
Yeah,
you know, it's like that. Yeah.
Oh, my brother did that when he was younger, but he wasn't any good. We wanted to kill him. Terrible.
But
when I was in the army, he played the guitar a bit, and you know, when he died, his ex-wife gave me it and said, you know, here's his guitar, John's guitar, you can have it. And it's sat behind the TV. It's been there for 20 years. I have picked it up and looked at it and tried to play it, but I wouldn't know where to start. I ain't got the compulsion to play guitar, but I can play the harmonica. How's that? You know, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
No. At the same time, though, there'll be other things that you will pick up really, really well instead. It's like me. I can talk. But my English is not as good as my maths. I love maths. And I think it's because with English, as you start learning it as a kid, that there's not that much logic to a lot of English words and how it's used. But numbers, I love numbers because they make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I actually want to about the English because I want to go back and do. We did the English language as a curse.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, well,
loads of things after that, and I want to revisit that one.
Right.
Well, that happened to me. So, yeah. Well, I was talking to a group the other day. I said, "Oh, I can't talk and think and write as well." She said, "Well, that's because you're not a woman. You can't do two things at once." but people laugh, but it's true. I can't talk and think at the same time and write.
Yeah,
you're talking and you're writing. I can't do it, but some people can.
Yeah.
So, and then this female said, "Give me it here, I'll do it," and she was, horses for courses, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I always say as a reply to that, no, us men, we try to do just one thing properly.
Oh.
And then I get a slap.
Yeah.
My mother would reply to that. Yeah, do one thing properly, and that screw things up.
Yeah.
That's what she would say to me, Dad. You screw things up properly, boy. That's what you'd say. I know what my mother would like. Yeah.
And then I just go touche to that.
I'm saying nothing about that. Oh, I'm staying out of that argument.
No, we're not going to talk about that, are we?
No, we won't go there. No, we won't.
That shouldn't be said.
I can feel it smack into the back of my head already.
She's heard you.
I'm saying nothing. I'm not. Don't go there. Yeah, I can feel my mother floating around me as it is. No,
but it's not like, and then there's a lot of things what come natural, and it's amazing. It really is. And
when you're talking about paranormal and the solar flares and the energy and the magnetic field, that makes compass works, and the slipstream and all that thing, it all has an effect on the world, and the world revolves because of the magnetic going round, because of the magma going round. It drags the world with it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So when you think there's a propulsion system under our feet that's propelling us at X miles an hour, and we're stood still, but we're not really. You try and get your head around that. But I would say to you that them forces have an effect on, because our bodies, we think they're quite strong, but your brain is, can I say, it's a magnificent piece of kit. And there are people, let's say like me, like you, that can work with these forces, but there are more people that are more sensitive, to other things, like Looney Tunes and all kinds of bloody things, when you get that. And talking to a policeman about 2 years ago, when there was going to be a full moon, I said to him, he said, "Well, we normally have 8 or 9 bobbies on a beat every night, next week we'll have 15 on." I said, "Well, why? It's a full moon." "What's that got to do with that?" He said, "Well, obviously, there's be more trouble." "Well, why is that?" And then, "No, come on, what work you do?" And then the penny dropped, Oh, bloody hell. I didn't think, he said, "Well, they all come out, all the bloody Looney Tunes come out, and the whole riot band will be full, and, all right, okay. I don't know. I mean, you don't think about things like that, do you? You don't.
No, no. And then when it's pointed out, it's like, wow, yeah, it makes sense. You just, no, fair enough. It's
well, and the other thing is, there's always more fights outside pizza shops than anywhere else. Why is that?
Yeah, pizza
shop. When you're hungry, what are you going to do? I'm going to go and have pizza. It's like mind blowing, isn't it? You know, and you think, well, I'm not going to the pizza shop. You know, I don't want to get booted in at my time of life, but but human nature is ruled by nature, really. You know, and I think we wanted to talk about attachments tonight. When you're talking about attachments, many people that I talk to, they go along because they think it's going to be a bit of fun. You know, I'm going on one of them paranormal nights, you know, and it'll be fun, you know, and they're going, and some of them are well run, you know, some of them are well run, and some of them I wouldn't. It's a risky business. You know, you're taking your bloody life in your hand when you go in places like that, because they've got no safety features, they've got no groups, they've got no nothing, they've got no structure whatsoever. You know, and I remember saying to a bloke, well, where's the first aid bloke? Oh, I ain't got one. Well, what happens if somebody falls down? Well, second hospital. Well, but what about insurance? Oh, I ain't got no insurance. You what? You got no liability? No. Well, why do I need that? Oh, Jesus, you know, here we go. So, you know, and people say about, I've seen them when you're in some castle, farmyard, wherever. They go to some haunted place, what I think, it could be disused airfield, wherever, and start haunting bloody spirits, this, that, and the other, you know, because they want to get a reaction. Well, they're not going to come out the wall and say, "Ooh, I'm here." No. You know, they'll attack you in ways that you don't even think of. The idea of a demon won't attach itself to you, but what it wants to do is make you pay. And how will it do that? It'll probably take your kids down, or your wife, or your family, and leave you alone.
And then time as well.
Over a period of time, it will break you down. You'll go out drinking, you'll do this, you'll do that, or it will do it to your kids, or it will do it to your missus. And by the time that's happened, and somebody's been talking to him and found out he's too pissing late, you know, people just don't understand how many families or how many people. Well, he was all right, but he went on there, and when he come back, it was a Jekyll and Hyde. And why do you think, oh, well, it was just, you know, it's this, and they don't click the two. You know, and I did a blessing last week. It was a bit of a straightforward thing. This woman come back up a paranormal night with her husband, and he'd been pissing it up all night, took a few bottles with him, a few cans. We're chucking cans around this place. Eventually, he got chucked out, you know, because he was chucking cans at stained glass windows and things, you know.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, they sat him in the car, and he wouldn't want to let his wife drive back. He thought he was fit to drive, this, that, and the other. And anyway, so he ended up getting the cab back and going back for the car in the morning. But she said, when we got back home, she said it was normally when we've been out, he does this, I do that. It's a routine. You have a night routine or a day routine. You got to work, I do this, I do that. You learn to work. She said it was like he turned into a different person. And I thought, you what? He's like, what are you talking about, a different person? You're just different. So, you know, she said, well, will you come and have a word with him? Look, you know, I'll come with you, but I'm not quite sure. I want him to know what I'm going to do. You know, I'm going to be psyching him out. You know, I'm just going to sit down and have a cup of tea, and we'll see what happens. You know, she said, all right then. Okay, so he sat on the floor, right, and he's got a pair of old flip-flops on and a pair of old, I don't know, shorts or something, and a T-shirt with AC/DC on it and something else. I don't bloody know. And she said, I said, is that normally him? She said, no. She said, normally, she said, he's smartly dressed. I thought, maybe he's just going through a phase. So, anyway, he was glaring at me. He was just glaring at, and then he got up and he was in about 3 inches of my space, like that, glaring at me. And I thought, there's something not right with him. But still, you can't just say, oh, it's this, because there are things that you need to find out. So I said, have you been suffering with your back? Are you some kind of bloody doctor or something? No, I said, I'm just asking if you've got backache, because like I say, you can see a twinge in there. Oh, I've had it. I must have pulled it when I was out the other night. Ah, okay, all right. So, have you had a bit of a cold as well? Oh, you bloody hell, you're some kind of pissing doctor, you are, I said, no, I'm just interested, you might have caught a cold, like, and have you thought about going to see the doctor? See the bloody doctor, So, I said to his wife, when did this start? Someone we went out on the paranormal night when they come back. I said, all right. So what happened? She didn't just started, he was drinking, but what happens when you drink? It lowers your vibrations, it lowers you, it opens you up, which made it easier for anything to attach yourself to him.
Yeah.
So he walked in, and the minute he walked in, I said a few things, ominous, satanicus, potassium, and he hit the bloody roof. And I'm not lying, he literally hit the roof. And he was going to chuck me out the door, and he grabbed hold of me, and, and I just tapped him on the head, and it was like, ugh. He said, what's wrong? I said, you've got an attachment. And then you've got to explain what that is. She said, well, is it serious? I said, well, we had to get permission to do something with it. But we're going to have to try and talk to him, talking around, but I'm not going to do it tonight. Because I ain't got my books, I ain't got anything with me. She said, well, what do I do in the meantime? I said, just keep an eye on him. And I'm have to make a date to come back, but when I need to sit and talk to him when he's lucid, to get permission to do it, so, because you need their permission. If they don't give you all permission, you can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever come across someone that doesn't want to get rid of it, really? Even if they say, yeah, but in a way, they kind of
I have
back to having it, because they might get power from having it or feel stronger or something.
Well, what happens, you get an attachment, and it's like planting that seed in the ground, all right? And what happens, it grows, and as it grows, it takes over more of you. It grows and grows and grows. Well, like ivy taking over a house.
Yeah.
And the more it grows, the less of the house you see. And the more the ivy takes over until there's nothing left. And the more you can save of that person, the more personality you save. So the sooner you do it, the better. But we're talking about an exorcism here now. It goes from attachment. You can do a blessing and get rid of an attachment or attachments, But after a while, it begins to manifest itself in a possession. And when it becomes a possession, then you need an exorcism, So the thing with that is, if you can catch it within normally 5-6 months or so, you've got a damn good chance.
Yeah.
Sometimes 18 months, depending on what. If I've seen good Christian people that go to church, and ask for blessings and communion, that sort of puts it on like puts it in the fridge or the deep freeze, it slows it down, so to speak. Because you're asking for a blessing for your soul, so it can't get to your soul, but it can take over you.
Yeah, yeah.
If you know what I mean? Because your soul's a prize that it wants. So there are cases where that's happened, but the usual run of the mill is the longer it's left, the more chance you have of having a personality affliction.
Yeah.
And that can be something from like having a stroke to a tick to, walking down the street and going, you've all seen them going, walking around. The personality's still there, but that part that used to have a personality is now,
Yeah. I know someone, a friend, and they had a bit of a stressful time, and came away from it. But now it could be stood doing something, simply having a drink in a pub, that kind of thing, and every now and again it'll just go, and his hand will let go of everything what's in it, and he don't know he's doing it, and then it lands on for it. It's like, you're doing it again. And at first you were like, I don't know what's going off. Something's wrong. And they went, no, it's a condition where something just you've got no control over it. You don't know you're doing it, and it was triggered by the stress he had, and it's like that's something what he's being left with. So, and I get what you're saying, because it might be over that depression, but he's being left with something.
It plays on the same part of the brain, maybe. I don't know. I'm not no doctor. But the essence of these paranormal groups, and I'm not knocking any group, but there are some groups out there that are just out for the money, and that when you're talking about a multi-religious congregation, that I don't mean in a church, that are there, a multi-religious group. You could have any group, it could be this group or that group, Christian, Muslim, whatever. You can't go and bless everybody, unless they want to be blessed. And I'm not an imam, and I can't go blessing them. I can only bless them with the book that I've got, So they have a choice, because we all sit under the same sun. We all sit under the same moon. We all sit under the same star, and we all drink the same water. Where it comes from, it comes, it's water, and if you can get them to understand that it's the same moon, the same stars, and so on and so forth, and do it on that level, then you have a chance, that there is only one demon, there is only one darkness, there's only one light. You put it to them like that, and most people will say, well, I can get rid of that darkness for you if you let me work with the light. All right, so, well, I'm not this, I'm a spiritualist, and then work like that, then you have a chance to do it. There are prayers in this book, and I've marked it where it says, severing ties and bonds of attachment. I don't think you can see that on there. Severing ties and bonds of attachment. And that's one of the prayers that you would say. And it goes on, severing ties, bonds of attachment of deeply rooted spirits of the heart, soul, and traumas of the mind. Pardon?
No, that. What book's that you've got there?
Sorry. So yeah, that's what. Well, generally, it's not generally for sale. It was given to me with my book of exorcism.
Right.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
That's the book of exorcism, as you can see. No bullshit there, eh?
No, definitely not.
So it says, as you can see, the book of exorcism. Look.
Yep.
And that goes with that. That's the weapon. This is for the attachment. Prayers, and it breaks prayers of deliverance up.
Yeah. No, yeah.
That's what we use for attachments and for blessing various other things. And if that doesn't deal with it, then we get the big guns out.
Yeah.
You know.
A lot of people do not believe that this kind of thing can happen. They don't.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. And
they don't say that part, but you go out and they have a laugh and
that. I agree.
And
the lady, yeah, I agree with you totally. Yeah, the lady I was talking to last week. It's funny because her husband agreed to it. Only if she'd put £500 in his bank, you know, which she did. And she said, "Well, that's for my drink when I finished," you know. So we went through it, and the minute we finished, he lay down on the sofa and he was out cuckoo for about 4 hours, and he came round, fell on the floor, and she picked him up, and she said, "Are you all right, darling?" And he just broke down sobbing. Absolutely, he was in bits, you know. And she rung me up. I didn't see this. She rung me up and said, "Can you come over?" Well, they live near York, out that way, Acombe, you know. Right. And from Scarborough, it's an hour and a half journey, 2 hours, you know. So this time, no, I'm not going out there this time in the morning, you know. She said, "Well, I'll pay you." So I'm still not coming, not even if you pay me, because you know. But by the time I got home, all right, and taken my pills, and you know, I had a whiskey to calm my nerves down. You know, I ain't driving when I've had a drink, and I'm sorry, no bloody way, I'm going nowhere when I've had a drink. You can go and bugger off, mate. So I'll come in the morning. All right, so I left here about 10 o'clock. Got there for about dinner, and I said, "Where is she?" She said, "Gone to work." "She's gone to work." She sat down and told me, she said, "After you went, he fell on the carpet," and told me, she said, I went to pick him up. She said, and he grabbed hold of me. He wouldn't let go of me for 40 minutes. I said, "Why?" She said, "I don't know." She said, "I don't know where I've been, but I'm so glad I'm back." Work that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's quite frightening, isn't it?
It's it, yeah.
You know?
It is. And
I don't know where I've been, but I'm glad I'm back.
Yeah, I mean that's it's a scary one, that.
Like I was saying to you, John, about I've got like similar stories around this. It's when me and Brian, we went out because we used to go visit churches.
Yeah.
Found this church, and I cannot remember where it is. I'll have to go into his videos and what to find out where it is. But it was in the back. It wasn't visited very often because nobody would have found it. Anyway, Woolston. Now, have you ever known a church ever have a black candle in it? A white and a black candle?
No, ever. Never.
Exactly.
Not unless it's a black mass. No.
When we came, that place was weird. It was a place. It was a wacky place. We knew when we went in that it didn't feel right. It was totally wrong. But what do we do? You know, like you do, you waltz up to the book and you sign your bloody name in it.
Yeah.
We did. Come out of the place. If we'd seen, because you don't, I tend not to notice things as you're going in, but you do as you come out. It had a fencing round it that looked like it'd been done by hand.
Yeah.
It'd been done by hand. You know what? From that place on, we had nothing but absolute chaos. I said to Brian, I'm telling you now we've left and we're on his way on, I can smell dead flowers in this car. And it followed us. That smell was with us all the way to Bryce.
Oh, dear.
I'd love to know I'd love to know which church that is.
Chaos, absolute chaos. Nothing went right. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Everything went to pot. I mean, when we're talking about everything, I mean everything went to pot.
Yeah.
I'd like to know. Something is in the car, and we brought it back.
Yeah. If you do get that name at place,
I'll
you have to let me know. Yeah.
Well,
it'd be interesting.
Sometimes maybe we could go together, John. I'd like to investigate that.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, but getting back to most people have said to me, is there any, because I mean, my what congregation, whatever they call it, group of following, whatever, comes not just from the UK, but all over the bloody world, you know.
Yeah.
And I can't go tootling off to Ohio or California or wherever else, you know. Can you come and do it for me? He said, no, I can't. No, I can't give you a blessing. I'm not going to go there. You know. Well, what can I do? So there is a laid down procedure by the church that you can do yourself, and it doesn't guarantee that it won't guarantee you an exorcism, but if you've got an attachment, it will help to get rid of it. Because, you know, the Lord gave you permission to be an exorcist. Did you know that?
Yeah. Did he say, if you follow me and you listen, you'll be able to cast out devils? It
says in the book of Mark, chapter 16, all right, verse 16, where it says, and they that believeth in me and are baptized shall be saved, and he who believeth in me shall cast out the damned. All right. So basically, the Lord's giving you permission. All right. If you're blessed or baptized, whatever you want. Some people call it a blessing, some call it baptism, call it what you like. But if you know how to use that, if you're holding this book and you've got holy water and you put them in your hand, and because before you go and do anything, you've got to go and deliver that blessing. You have to confess all your sins or ask for a blessing and forgive me my sins, because you can't go if you've sinned doing that, and we all bloody sin one way or another. So if you put some holy water in your hand, put it on your head and say, Lord, bless me and absolve me of all my sins. You are now clean to go and do the Lord's work. So then you can throw holy water or put it on the head and say, Holy Father, I ask you to bless this vessel and to remove all unclean spirits from within it or around it. I ask this in your name, Heavenly Father. Amen. And that will get rid of most attachments. And I have known a few that have still been there because they've been deep rooted and there for months. But most attachments that will get rid of.
Yeah. See, a lot of people don't realize either that if you do get like a monitoring spirit or attachment like this, it's not only the person that is going to have a go. No. It's going to be friends.
Yeah.
It's going to be also family members. It's going to be outside. If you can get to them and wreck everything,
it'll go. What it'll do, it wants to make you suffer and break you down. That's what it wants to do.
Yeah. Oh, no less gone completely. Just
definitely.
It will make your life so miserable and break your family down, and you watching your life deteriorate.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. And people who, I'm not going to start talking too deep here, but there are so many people today that think taking drugs, doing this, doing that is acceptable. But what you're actually opening yourself up is to darkness, you know. And I'm not saying that everyone should go to church. Because do I go to church? Yes, I do go to church, but I go to my own church. I go to whatever church I want. I don't go, do I go every week? No. I can sit on my steps and pray. Before I went into hospital, right, to have major surgery, I didn't think I'd survive. I saw a big sign. It was like a molten eye with fire and an iris, or whatever you want to call it, a blackness. And that was on the thing above my bathroom, and I saw it as plain as day. You know, so if the Lord can do that anyway, because He saved me, I am a walking mirror. 9 weeks in a coma, me, you know, my daughter and Sharon Williams, I'll tell you that, because they looked after me. 5.5 stone, 9 weeks in the coma. When I come out, look at me now, you know. So you can pray anywhere. You don't need to go to a pile of stones anywhere. You know, it's about asking for forgiveness, you know, and that's what it's about. And just helping people. You don't need to give thousands of pounds to charity or, you know, do this. Just helping somebody across the road, giving somebody a smile, praying for somebody, sending healing to someone, having a mind for others. That's what it's about. You know, it's a minor thing. Yeah, you don't have to be some father from, you know, because half of these bloody priests. I was talking to one about 3 years ago, and he said, "What are you talking to me like that for? I don't even believe in God." I said, "You what?" He said, "I don't believe in God. It's a job, isn't it?
I remember you saying that.
You've got a job and a car, and thank you very much. I've got a nice house for me and my family. I'm all right." And he could recite the Bible upside down, back to front, stick it up your backside, and still bloody read it. You know, it's a job, isn't it?
Yeah, and they say the devil also knows the Bible.
Well, yeah.
He knows it very well.
What is the Bible? It's a contradiction, isn't it? Yeah. It's a contradiction. It is. It's a contradiction. You know, one saying turn the other cheek and then stab him, you know, I've got a bigger army than you, and blah, 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 and Sodom and Gomorrah and all that load of old bullshit. I've never heard so much crap in my life. You know, it must have been written by people that come out of some bloody nut house in them days, you know. I don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the Bible. You know, it's a good book to read if you want a good drama story. You know what's right and what's wrong inside. You already know that you shouldn't go around killing people. You shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. You know that. It's built in. So why do you need some bloody Bible telling you what to do? You don't.
No.
You know.
Oh, we've got a question here. What do you consider an attachment? What is it? A spirit
what?
It says, what do you consider an attachment? What is it? A spirit or a demon?
What can trigger an attachment? Nothing triggers an attachment. It's not like, you know, you walk into like you put your foot on the brake in the car and it slows you down. Nothing triggers it. That's how you go into a paranormal event, okay, and you say, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in this load of old shit, it's load of old balls and this, that, and the other. Well, you're the kind of person that will get an attachment. The first thing you're going to know is, I've got backache, my kidneys ache, and then you start getting flu-like symptoms. Not long after that. There is no way that you can, if you're going to start playing with people that have got the flu, you're going to end up with flu yourself. If you start playing with people that have got herpes, you're going to get herpes yourself. You know, so if you start going to these damn places and doing things that are immoral, you're going to start getting attachment. You're going to get things that aren't curable by a doctor or by a psychiatrist. All right? What they'll do, to start off with, you'll start having two personalities. They'll give you some pills and probably lock you up somewhere, you know, with the rest of the headbangers and whatever. So it pays to be sensible. Like, if you know that you've got a very low immune system, don't go playing with people that have got the flu. If you don't know the rules of the game, don't play. You know, if you want to go and play, make sure that they've got people there that know what they're talking about. And if they don't know what they're talking about, then you need to find out. Well, like trying to drive a car, isn't it? If you're not careful, you end up killing yourself and everybody else to go with it. You need to know the rules of the road, you know.
So, and what Bobby were asking is, what do you believe an attachment is? Is it a spirit or a demon?
Well,
that kind of thing.
There are. When we're talking about people, there are many types of people. For every cardinal sin, there's a demon, all right? And for minor sins, there are minor demons, like there are minor angels, all right? So what you're starting off with is you're starting off with something like a baby that will grow. And what it does, it will suck the vibrations and life out of you. Yeah. Eventually, it takes over more of you, and how it does that, so you don't. When you imagine how you feel when you've had I can't sleep for a couple of nights, you know, I can't sleep. Eventually, because you sleep deprived, right, you start to break down. Well, that's how it starts attacking. It starts attacking your life, how your body works, how you feel within yourself, run down, tired, listless, not interested in food anymore. You're not eating properly. You know, you start wanting to just take to your bed, or can't be, I'm too tired. That's how it breaks you down. But it's like a baby being in your arms. If you keep it there and feed it, it will grow. And the more it grows, the bigger it gets, the more it weighs, the more it takes out of you. You know, it's rather like being a single mother and looking after a baby. After a while, because that baby wants feeding 24 hours a day, and sometimes when he's not well, you know what it's like looking after a baby, because I've done it myself, you know. Yeah.
Rita, hello.
Definitely.
I mean, to me, I just think it's a spirit, me. Just a.
It's like an interaction.
People, if like, you know, they do crazy things, then you can, if you call for things, you can make things out of negative. Being negative, I think you can actually bring things forward through being negative. If you know.
You can bathe yourself in salt water.
Yeah.
And bless yourself in salt water.
I mean, it's like when we come away from that church and like we had all the trouble and all that with that. Remember when Brian had that car crash? John?
Yeah, definitely.
Night before he had the car crash, I was at home here and we ran out and I got pushed. Literally, it was a shove. It was a shove. I went right back. It frightened my granddaughter to death. And
I remember you saying on chat as well.
Following day, he had the car crash. And I think it all stems from that bloody place. And then we have the subsequent of what's happened now. I mean, I can't put it down to that, but I'm sorry, but in my opinion, one thing leads to another.
Another, yeah. Definitely, and in my mind, I see it as an attachment being like a lingering reminder that you've been in contact with something or you've been in that place, and then like Mickey was saying, that lingering memory starts becoming it wants to become part of you and take stuff from you.
Yeah.
So it's like also, I do believe the word demon originally just meant spirit of any type. So it's a spirit, and we see it as a particularly negative one kind of thing.
Yeah,
but it's. I get what you're saying because I've told this story, but it's very good for an hour. But I went to Amsterdam. I went to that old lunatic asylum. And it was before that. It was a centre for leprosy, so it's a really old place. And I wanted to know what it felt like to be in that cell. And after a year, not realizing this, but I looked on Facebook and I realized I joined a group for mental health because that year, seriously, I laugh about it now, but I got OCD. I was just plagued with OCDs. And I didn't realize it at first. And then I realized I were having it because then someone was saying, "What are you doing?" It was silly things, little things. Yeah. But when that reminder said, you joined this group a year ago, I looked and I thought, that weren't long after me going there.
Yeah.
And then I was laid in bed having a panic attack, and I've never had them. I've never had them since. It went down my arm. I didn't know. And I were in this thing of worrying a lot. And I'm like, is it an heart attack or an anxiety attack? Do you know what? I'm going to go to sleep. If I wake up, I'll take it as anxiety. And then I did. And then I realized I've been in that group for a year. It was just after that event. And what I asked for, I just thought to myself, I asked for this and I got it. I'm done with it. I don't want it. And then since then, I've not had those OCDs.
Yeah.
I've not had anxiety attacks or all like that because I've never had them before. But what I do realise is it's left because I've been in that dark place.
Yeah.
If I'm tired and I start getting a bit whatever, something starts getting a bit edgy, I realise, hey, this could easily take me back there. So I just go to bed and sleep it off and wake up in the morning and I'm fine.
Yeah.
But it does leave you touched. Oh, yeah. Once you've been there, you can easily go back in if you don't watch out. Yeah.
If you recognize triggers, you can see them coming and you can back out, can't you?
Yeah. I do appreciate that experience, to be fair, because
it opens your eyes, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And then when somebody else says, I've got this, it sounds daft. I'm like, it doesn't. I know what you mean. Because I weren't wearing shoes because they were creasing and I didn't want those creases to turn into cracks. Right. And then I weren't wearing the shoe. It was just going back home just to turn lights on and off. I'd say it's stupid, but it isn't. At that time, it feels like it's really important. And I know there's loads of what suffer with this. And I'm like, I think about it, I think, it's terrible. And it makes sense at times.
It's like me. I'm a very outy person. I like to go out and do stuff and whatever. But it came to me with a point where every time I made arrangements, I'd get ill and didn't go.
Yeah, if you're stressed or you're ill, I don't do an investigation. I'll go. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing an investigation.
I'd be ill and I wouldn't go. I couldn't make arrangements with my friend to go out and something. But you can guarantee coming up to that I would be ill and I couldn't go.
Yeah, we've
got to see the pattern between us. We figured the pattern out. So every time I got like that, I just went down well out.
Yeah. Bobby's asked another question, Mickey. See what your opinion is on this. So, in the panel's opinion, where do we go when we die? Where do we wake up in the afterlife?
Well, that depends upon the religion that you belong to. If you're talking about what I was brought up with and what I saw when I was in a coma for 9 weeks, life, the way to describe it, it's rather like when you're a child and you're having a nightmare and your mum or dad come and wakes you up and you're sat in your bed and you're coming round. It's pretty much just like coming around from a nightmare and waking up in the bed somewhere and surrounded by people that know you. It's pretty much like waking up from a nightmare. That's what it was like for me. So yeah, I think all I can say about that is, did I see a white tunnel or a tunnel? No, I didn't. No, I just sort of woke up, and I think I've told you on here before. when they were operating on me, I was looking down on myself, you know, and I told the doctor when I come round and no, we get a lot of that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I said, no, well, I was looking down on myself. He said, oh, well, we get a lot of that. I said, yeah, but there's a card up there from the Queen's Jubilee, 1977. I remember it now. So, anyway, while they were cleaning it out after COVID, what did they find? A postcard, 1977, Queen's Jubilee. So, oh, you must have been there before. What? In that operating theatre, you know, Castle Hill Hospital near Hull? I don't think so, do you?
Yeah, I try and stay away if you don't mind.
No,
yeah.
no.
So, the end, so I'm going to have to say good night to Things Network tonight because we've got to finish at 9 on the dot.
Okay, yeah.
Network. So we'll catch Things Network next week and we'll just carry on for about 5 to 10 minutes here. And then,
yeah. Okay.
So Things Network. See you next week.
Right. Okay.